Go, go. Wait, here we go, here we go.
Oh, no. Oh, dear. Oh, no.
Come on, come on.
Go, man, left. Go, Rob.
Bitch, nigga, stop fucking playing with us. Nigga. Read my fucking chest, nigga. Read my fucking chest. They want to teach you in the fucking city, bitch. Stop playing with us while I pull up and let off 3 into your motherfucking top cap. Damn, bro. Hide them fireworks, my nigga.
What the fuck was that, Joe?
I just lit off a fucking firework.
No, you didn't. What'd you shoot?
A firework, my nigga.
Umbrella. She's up, she's up. Whole nother level of shit you can't even understand.
What is good, my people? We are live back again with another episode of The Forecast. Now, what I don't understand is, after all of this time, why do we still fight to be a part of their system? We could easily use that same energy to build our own. And some people try to say, if you want to see a difference, go out there and vote for change. And then people try to blame Donald Trump getting elected on black people, especially black men. And now they're trying to scare us into voting because Donald Trump might get elected again. But to be honest, it's better that Trump did get elected over Hillary Clinton. All the things Trump said he's going to do, she did 20 years ago. At least with Trump, he don't hide it. But this system was never designed for us. And people say our ancestors died for the right to vote. No, they were murdered because they tried to vote. And if they died for anything, it was for representation. Not vote whether you prefer overt racism or covert racism. Now, a lot of people know about the Rosewood massacre in Florida. But a couple of years before that, in 1920, the Ocoee massacre happened on Election Day. Now, the 1920 election was the first election that women could vote, and that was supposed to include black women. And all across America, there were campaigns to get black people to register to vote. So in Ocoee, Florida, two prosperous black landowners, July Perry and Moses Norman, led a registration campaign. Now, in 1920, they had the poll taxes, but poor white people didn't have to pay it because they had grandfather clauses. So these two brothers were volunteering to pay anybody's poll tax that couldn't afford it. Now, at nights, the KKK would march down the street in the black neighborhood, warning people not to vote. And on the night before the election, they rolled through the black neighborhood with a megaphone and said, any nigga who tries to vote, you're going to face dire consequences. Now, on the day of the election, most of the black residents ignored the KKK and went to go vote. And of course, the KKK was there and they tried to scare people from voting, threatening them with violence. And when the black residents ignored them, the poll workers claimed their names were missing from the voter registration rolls. And the only person who could verify they were registered to vote was sent out of town. Now, most of the black residents gave up and just went home. But the brother Moses Norman didn't give up so easily, and they had to physically make him leave. So then the brother Moses Norman contacted another judge in another district, and he talked about filing a lawsuit for infringing on his right to vote. So the judge told him to get the name of any black person who wasn't allowed to vote, and the names of all the white poll workers that turned them away. So then the brother Moses Norman went back to the polls with other black citizens trying to vote again. But this time when they were physically turned away, he demanded their names. Now, of course, they didn't give up their name. But this brother Moses Norman said, we will vote by God. So then a white mob started forming, and it was led by a former police chief in Orlando. So this mob set out to find and kill Moses Norman and punish him by any means. So then the mob got word that he was at the home of the brother July Perry. And a mob of about 1,000 went to his house and demanded they surrender. Now, this brother July Perry was well respected in the black community, and he helped black people in the area get work and find jobs. Now, the brother July Perry casted his vote early to avoid all the trouble. But the mob saw both of these brothers as a threat, so they wanted to make an example out of them. So the former police chief leading the mob tried to kick in his brother July Perry's door. And when July Perry came to the door, he tried to grab his arm and pull him out. So then his daughter, Corthea Perry, put a gun to his chest to stop him. When the white boy tried to push the gun away, it went off. And this ex-cop was shot in the arm. So then a gun battle broke out, but two of the white people ended up getting killed. They forced the mob to retreat, and the family defended their home so well, they said it was about 37 people in the house. But it was only really July Perry, his wife, and their children, and two other people who were armed. Now, July Perry and his daughter ended up getting shot in the gun battle, and his brother July Perry went into a sugar patch to tend to his wounds. So then not too long after that, about 50 cars of white KKK reinforcement pulled up. But this brother July Perry was already arrested before the mob got to him. He ended up going to the hospital and then they took him to jail. So then about 3 o'clock in the morning, the mob went to Orlando to the jail and demanded they give them July Perry. And the sheriff didn't even try to stop him. He just gave him the keys. So they took this brother July Perry from the jail, started beating him up, and then they tied him to the back of a car and just dragged him through the streets. They drug him all the way to the neighborhood of the judge that told him to go get their names. And then they hung this brother from a lamppost so the judge could see. And then the mob riddled his body with bullets. And when they were done, they left a note around his neck saying, "This is what we do to niggas who try to vote." Now the mob thirst for blood still wasn't satisfied. They started attacking the black community, burning rows of houses on fire. Some of the black residents tried to fight back, but they were outnumbered and outgunned and they couldn't really do anything. It was reported one black man, James Langmead, refused to leave, so they beat this brother up and then they castrated him. The mob was going around setting people's houses on fire and waiting for them to run out so they can shoot them. Families, pregnant women, children had to decide if they were going to burn in the fire or run out and get shot. One pregnant woman decided to stay in her house because she didn't think she could run fast enough, but she sent the rest of her family away. But her mom stayed with her and they both died in the fire. Their bodies were found burnt. Another black woman, Hattie Smith, was visiting her pregnant sister-in-law. Now the sister Hattie Smith was able to get away, but her sister-in-law and her whole family was killed. One KKK member said he saw a house they firebombed, and when the family tried to run out, 8 people got snagged in the chicken wire and then burnt alive. The mob burned down every black church, school, business, lodges. They tried to say just 2 people were killed, but anywhere from 50 to 60 people were killed. And that number may be higher. A lot of people survived by hiding in the swamps, and a lot of people left and never came back. Now, some of the black residents say the attack was planned so the white people that could steal their property that was prosperous for nothing. Then after the massacre, for about a week, the KKK put embargoes on the town, and no black person could come in or out. They threatened the residents to give up their property or they were going to kill them and destroy their property. Only a few black families got compensated for their property and they were cheated. Like they would only get $10 for 37 acres of land. By 1930, there was no black people in Ocoee, and it became a sundown town. And of course, nobody was ever punished for any of it. And by the end, not one black vote was casted. But this is deeper than voting. They just use voting as an excuse. The whole purpose is to keep us in our place. In Indiana, the Gary police shot a 25-year-old brother, Rashad Cunningham, in front of his own home. So let's see how this brother ended up getting killed by the police.
Angry and heartbreaking and demanding answers. 1 week ago today, a man was shot and killed by a Gary police officer. As investigators look into the shooting, that man's friends and loved ones describe their frustration. CBS 2's Jeremy Ross is live outside the Gary Police Department with their appeal and the details of the investigation. Jeremy?
Good evening, Jim. When we first heard about this incident, the Gary Police Department telling us Lake County would handle this ongoing investigation. Tonight, one family telling us they've heard little from either agency and they've had enough.
Justice for Rashad!
They protest outside Gary's police department.
No justice, no peace!
Many raising their voices 7 days after one officer raised a gun and killed a father of 5, 25-year-old Rashad Cunningham.
We're not getting nothing from the Gary Police Department. We're not getting nothing, no answers from Lake County. If shot, I need audio. We want the recordings. They had his whole life ahead of him. He just was getting started. No one showed me any compassion. I want my son to get justice.
You were very emotional during the news conference, yelling and shouting. Is there anger? Is there grief?
It's so much anger.
How has your family coped with this?
We are broken. We are torn apart.
In a one-on-one interview, Tonya Simmons disputes what little information her family has received about her son's death August 17th. At 23rd Avenue in Kentucky, you'll find candles and a memorial where the shooting took place. It was here around 3 a.m. that police approached a parked car with a 25-year-old and 2 others inside. Police say Cunningham was holding a gun when the shooting happened, his family providing this picture of his Indiana gun license Gary police said the Lake County Sheriff's Department will be conducting the ongoing investigation, but the family wants more law enforcement eyes watching over it.
The FBI was called. We want as much help as we can get.
We're going to show up at this city. We're going to show up at the city council. We're going to show up everywhere there is a politician, and we're going to demand that everyone be held accountable.
Gary police say all of this started as a traffic stop early Saturday morning and ended up with an officer-involved shooting death of a 25-year-old local man, Rashad Cunningham. Today, family and friends of Rashad Cunningham protesting here in Gary over what they say is a total lack of information, a narrative coming from police.
I want answers.
Heather Fox is Rashad's girlfriend. They share a 1-year-old child together. He was shot dead by a Gary police officer last Saturday morning at 3 a.m. in front of his home after what Gary police say was a traffic stop. His family and friends tell us he was with 2 friends at the time. Per protocol, the Lake County Sheriff's Department is investigating, but both departments are not commenting on what happened or the status of the investigation.
I want to know what their protocol is to approaching a car parked in front of their home. I want to know why it wasn't any put your hands up before I shoot or anything like that, before you just loaded that gun into that car and shot him in front of 2 of his best friends. Like, I just don't understand. It's been more than 72 hours. It's been like 4 days now. We have no answers. They haven't contacted us. They haven't said anything to us, besides that there's no body cam video.
Rashad, a father of 5, lived here in Gary, but was planning on joining his dad in business in Wisconsin soon.
My son is amazing. Outgoing, well-spoken, graduated.
What did he want to do?
He wanted, to be honest, he wanted to help me with my business. I'm a landscaper, and he wanted to help his dad grow.
Jesse Cunningham lives in Kenosha, but says he will continue protesting until, at the very least, there is a full accounting of what happened. He says his son had a conceal and carry license and did have his gun with him at the time. He believes if his son were someone with money or prestige, things would be different.
They would have ran out here. But since it's just a lower class, it seems like, well, since it's a lower class, there's no reason we got to explain to y'all. We don't have to explain nothing to y'all. So all I'm saying is I just want answers from my son.
A friend who was with Rashad Cunningham at the time says he did have that gun in his lap, but he did not make any provoking actions. The officer just opened fire 5 or 6 times. As for the officer in question, we inquired, is he on desk duty? Is he still on patrol? Or what the case may be exactly. No comment coming from Gary police.
Now, this brother Rashad Cunningham was just getting dropped off by his friends after they went out that night, and they were parked in front of his house just having a conversation. Now, at first the police said they pulled him over and it was a traffic stop. But then when it came out they were parked in front of his house, the police changed their story and said they were responding to a shots fired call. So for no apparent reason, these cops, who they haven't identified, randomly approached these brothers. So one of the cops saw this brother Rashad Cunningham had a gun, and without any warning, he immediately opened fire 5 or 6 times. And now the police won't say anything. The only thing they said is there's no body camera. And now they've turned the investigation over to their neighbor police department.
A family questioning Gary police after a man is shot and killed, the man holding a weapon in his lap. But he's also a licensed conceal and carry gun owner.
Our Eric Hawks joins us from Gary, where the family confronted the city council tonight. Eric, that meeting just ended and still no answers.
That's right, Erica and Brad. Yeah, the family of Rashad Cunningham waited hours to speak at tonight's Gary City Council meeting. They came looking for answers, only to leave in anger. 4 rows of loved ones sitting together at Tuesday's Gary City Council meeting, seeking answers surrounding their loved one's death at the hands of police. After 2.5 hours of waiting, one of them finally got to touch the podium.
My family has felt a bit disrespected. We've been here for quite some time, waiting to be heard.
Ivan Simmons is Rashad Cunningham's uncle. Gary police say Cunningham was shot and killed while police were performing a traffic stop near East 23rd Avenue and Kentucky Street close to 3 a.m. Saturday. As they approached a parked car with a 25-year-old and 2 others inside, an officer's weapon went off, ending this father of 5's life. Gary PD declining to provide any more information, including the officer who fired the shot or if anyone's been placed on administrative leave.
A wall of silence has covered this situation with Rashad. We haven't heard from anyone.
Police say Cunningham was holding a gun when the shooting happened. His family tells CBS 2 he has a concealed carry permit. Simmons getting a standing ovation during an emotional speech.
He had a Second Amendment right to carry a weapon. His pursuit of happiness is gone. He was trying to provide for his children, whom he loved. They would never see their father again.
After more waiting, Cunningham's girlfriend and the mother of his youngest son, Heather Fox, spoke. Plenty of anger pouring out after another night without answers.
But y'all will see me again, and it's not over. No justice, no peace, period.
Gary Police and the Lake County Sheriff's Department are working in tandem to conduct this death investigation. Meanwhile, Mayor Freeman Wilson telling tonight's crowd that she will push for an independent investigation when, quote, the time is right.
Now, even though this brother Rashad Cunningham did have a gun, it turns out he was licensed to carry, and he had a concealed permit. The gun he had was completely legal, and he had every right to have it. Now, even though we won't hear anything from the NRA in this case, we can't be afraid to exercise the Second Amendment, and we have to be prepared to stand our ground. And now all the police can say is this is a tragedy, but they won't name any of the cops involved, let alone which cop shot them, or if they got their paid vacation.
Rashad Cunningham's loved ones say they are outraged that weeks later they still have no answers.
It hurts. It really does hurt to know that these people that are supposed to protect and serve us, we're calling to get answers and they're hanging up, they're laughing. It don't make sense. I just want justice. I want clarification on why he would do that.
Rashad Cunningham's relatives and friends have held protests and vigils.
No justice, no peace.
And they've shown up at Gary City Council meetings. But authorities have given very little information about the police shooting that killed the 25-year-old father on August 17th while he was in a parked car outside of his home. His friend was dropping him off, and witnesses say Cunningham had a gun on his lap. But they say he did not reach for it before he was shot.
He was wrongfully killed. He was permitted to carry. He was allowed to carry. What is the protocol? Is there no hands up, don't move, and you take the gun? Put your hands on the steering wheel? I thought they were trained.
Police have not released the name of the officer who opened fire, but Cunningham's relatives say they've identified him, and his personnel record reveals previous disciplinary problems, including a 30-day suspension for punching a cooperative juvenile in the stomach without provocation in 2013. The officer later admitted he lied about that incident. Cunningham's girlfriend says his loved ones will continue to push for answers.
He knew his rights. He wasn't a criminal at all. He don't have a background. He wasn't that type of person. The officer that shot him has a worse background than he ever had.
Still no comment tonight from Gary Police or the Lake County Sheriff's Department, who is handling this investigation.
Now, this brother Rashad Cunningham's family say they think they know which cop shot him, but the media still wouldn't put it out there. But it turns out this cop is the one with the record. This brother Rashad Cunningham wasn't a criminal. He didn't have a record. He had a license for the gun, and he had every right to have it, and he never even reached for it. The cop said he just saw a gun and he shot him, and they still aren't clear why they approached him in the first place. But at the end of the day, if we want these kind of situations to stop, we know what we have to do. And we don't have a choice but to get on code and do what we have to do. Because at the end of the day, we are all we got. If we don't change our situation, then nobody will.
Sam said he knocked on the door, and July said, who's there? And he says, it's me, July. Says, yes, sir, boss. Come out here, July, I want to talk to you. And he said, well, just a minute, boss, let me get my hat.
Her father had one rifle, if you would, shotgun, and gave her one, and said that, Caritha, we're going to have some problems tonight.
So July came out of the house, and Grandpa and Boyd Wilson were on the front porch. with July, and he explained to July that he was going to have to arrest him for what happened at the O's earlier that day. And July said to my grandfather, "It's cold. I want to get my coat." My grandfather didn't feel that if he got back in the house, he'd ever get him out again. So he grabbed him around the neck, and that's when Perry's daughter, 19-year-old daughter, Karita, took the rifle on my grandfather's stomach, and my grandfather reached down and got knocked out of the way, and it went off. Now, I don't know whether it went off from her pulling the trigger or from him knocking it or what, but it went in his hand and it came out of his elbow.
She wasn't in a position to do any shooting herself at that point in time because he was really more so concerned about her mother and the other children.
When Grandpa got shot, then everybody started shooting.
Bullets were flying through the house, and she said so many of you see the tracers of each bullet passing through. He was inside of his home shooting out of a window back at these men that were shooting at him.
The shooting took off for about 10 minutes, and then it quit. And when it got through, 6 white guys were injured, 2 white guys were killed. Mr. Perry was seriously wounded. Karita was wounded.
After her father was wounded, he told her that she needed to take her mother and the other children and get them out of the house to safety, and that he would not be coming with them. And she said she recalled asking Papa, "We don't want to leave you," and he said, "You have to."
They all took off out a trap door out the back where the two dead white guys were and headed for the cane fields.
And she said she recalls praying and said, "Lord, you got to help us get out of here." And she said she looked at the back door, and there was a cat hole there where the cat could come in and out of the house. And she said upon looking through the cat hole, she looked through a cornfield and saw a path of light beaming from the moon, but it shined a path of light that gave them a route to take.
I ain't got no time. Talk too much.
That's what I'm talking about. Go in there with him, okay? Come on, go in there with him. Go in there with him. Go in there with him. Go in there with him.
Step away from the window.
Y'all can step away from the window. Y'all can come up down there. So y'all, I'm giving you a warning.
Step away from the window.
Let y'all know this is the second time I've been here with this shot, disrespecting black women. This is over with. Last time, it's gonna happen. Y'all step away from this window, or y'all stay here, continue to support these people that continue to disrespect y'all. And when black men stand up for y'all by these clowns disrespecting us, we don't get the support we need from y'all. Y'all get away from that. Y'all come on up.
Come on out. Y'all need to come on out. You've been warned. We're going to shut it down.
Thank you.
All right. No problem.
Move.
All right. See that?
Move. I told you to move.
That's all right. And somebody should call the police on you.
You get 911.
I told y'all to come out.
Come out. Come out.
Back it up.
Come out.
The brother said he wasn't playing. He's not playing. He said he wasn't playing. He is not playing. That's okay. He know. He knows. You got another one.
Yeah.
Take it in.
I got mine. Stop playing. Y'all play too much. We talk too much. That's it. Quit playing. Stop disrespecting black women. I ain't saying that.
Don't move. Don't move. Just put it in your pocket.
I'm not hiding. I'm not gonna keep doing it.
Yep. Come on up out of there.
Back it up, sister.
No question.
Welcome, man.
So this is what happens when somebody stands up. He stood up. He stood up. He told you what it's gonna be. He stood up.
And he came out and he did what he needed to do.
He did what was in his heart to do. He's out. He's done it.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, Tyrone.
Sir, really?
No, it's up, man. I'm a bit upset.
Really? This is not
It's not necessary.
Doesn't matter.
Yes.
They're playing a fool. I'm legitimately outraged.
Well, you can be that way, but you don't.
I don't care.
Clearly, dude.
I don't care. Shut it.
Wow.
Give me the form, you fool.
Yeah, can you send?
Give me the form, you asshole. You fucking jigaboo. Give me the fucking form.
Oh.
Can you send a police record?
Yeah, right now.
Give me the form, you fucking nigger.
Oh, no, that's
Guys, give me the plate, nigger.
What?
What?
Get that shit on video.
I have a legal firearm on me, so you niggers gonna follow me, just so you know. 3,
Damn, that's how you feeling?
You got what? What'd you say?
That's fall.
What'd you say, nigger?
Damn. Shit, look, he said he got fire on him. He said, you know, he calling us niggas. Damn.
Put that shit over you.
What do you think, Dylan? What do you think? Nigga, come, cool it.
Yeah, you won't because your communities are destroyed. Africa, no one wants to be there. That's why you're here.
You threatened to shoot me, sir.
I did not.
You threatened to shoot me.
First of all, we don't do gay weddings or mixed race.
Okay, so why not?
Because of our Christian race. I mean, our Christian belief.
Okay, we're Christians as well. So, what in the Bible tells you that?
Well, I don't want to argue my faith.
No, that's
but
fine.
We
That's
just,
fine.
yeah, we just don't participate.
Okay.
We just choose not to.
Okay, so that's your Christian belief, right?
Attorney of a Boonville business speaks out after a video went viral of the business owner refusing the services to an interracial couple.
WTVA's Amanda Haley has the surprising reaction from the bride-to-be.
Donna Russell told Kaylee Jones and Ladarius Andrews that they could not have their wedding here at Boone's Camp event venue. A family member went there to find out why.
First of all, we don't do gay weddings or mixed race.
Okay, so why not?
Because of our Christian race. I mean, our Christian belief.
Okay, we're Christians as well. So, what in the Bible tells you that?
Well, I don't want to argue my faith.
No, that's
but
fine.
We just don't participate.
That's Donna Russell in the video. She is one of the owners of Boone's Camp Event Hall in Booneville. Russell refused to host a wedding. She said it was because of her Christian beliefs and the fact that the couple is interracial. On Saturday was when the bride-to-be found out she and her husband weren't welcome at the venue. The video went viral and got lots of local reaction. The city of Booneville responded by saying that the city does not condone discrimination of any sort. Jones says she wants to focus on her engagement, and the Christian thing to do is to forgive Russell and move on. She says Russell reached out to apologize to her and her fiancé. I spoke to the owner, Donna Russell, several times today, and she wasn't able to go on camera, but she tells me that she knows she made a big mistake, and the only thing left to do is make it right. And the venue's attorney just released a statement echoing what she said, adding the venue's owners are grateful the bride forgave them. Also, the couple's been invited to use the facility. And the owner just told me that the couple has booked another facility, but she repeated that she forgave them and that this is something they can look past.
A federal lawsuit claims the Baltimore County Police Department unintentionally discriminated against African Americans who applied for entry-level positions. The allegations stem from test results. WJC is live in Towson. Now, Joy Burnett tells us the county executive says he's already taking steps to make changes. Have a joy.
Well, Vic, this right here is a lawsuit from the Department of Justice, not only against the county, but it also names Baltimore County Police. John Yashevsky, the county executive, says he is committed to diversifying that police department and that he's already taken some steps to ensure that more African Americans get hired.
In a 6-page civil complaint, the Justice Department said Baltimore County and its police department unintentionally discriminated against African Americans who applied for entry-level police officer and cadet positions. The DOJ said Baltimore County's Human Resources Department developed a test which African American candidates failed at a higher rate. DOJ said the exams have caused a disparate impact on African American applicants on the basis of race, and they have a problem with the exams which are not related to the job. The test focused on reading comprehension, vocabulary, spelling, and grammar, along with logical ordering and observation skills. DOJ wants a court to order Baltimore County to refrain from using written examinations to screen and select applicants.
You said this was a surprise to you.
Oh, I was. It was a surprise.
Baltimore County Councilmember Julian Jones says he's confident the county will make changes, but he's also concerned.
Well, it's important that the police department reflect the communities that we serve. That's important in terms of community relations as well as relating to the people that we serve.
County Executive John Yoshevsky said he's committed to diversity and in a statement said, in the interest of moving forward and while denying any liability for actions by prior administrations, we have stopped using the test that the Justice Department believes has an adverse impact on African American applicants. Oshevsky says he's already working with the new police chief, the first woman to lead the department, Melissa Hyatt, about how to increase diversity.
I'm confident that we will fix it.
His job to investigate police shootings, and tonight he's out of a job, accused of not being fair. CBS 2's Dorothy Tucker talked to him so you can be the judge.
When a Chicago police officer shoots a civilian, the Independent Police Review Authority investigates to determine if the shooting was justified. Since 2007, there have been 400 officer-involved shootings. Only one was ruled unjustifiable. This one from 2013, when an officer fired into this car.
One unjustified shooting. What does that say to the public?
That they are not being investigated fairly.
Lorenzo Davis is a former supervising investigator for the board. He says he was fired 11 days ago for refusing to change his findings on 6 shootings.
I have done interviews or canvasses. I've looked for witnesses.
And concluded all 6 officers were unjustified in pulling their triggers.
You cannot shoot someone because they did not obey your order.
Davis, a former Chicago police commander, says he had received good reviews until last year when bosses concluded he had a clear bias against the police.
Morally, I cannot change it. I have integrity. I just can't do it.
Ironically, when the Independent Review Board was created in 2007, it was in response to accusations that the old board, which was controlled by the police, was unfair to citizens. Davis says this board is no better.
To me, they have a hidden agenda, one that I don't know about, to decide that virtually all police shootings are justified. That logically cannot be.
As for those 6 cases that Davis ruled unjustified, they're all in limbo right now, and any or all could be changed to justifiable. We reached out to the city of Chicago and the police authority and have not heard back from them.
I'm sure people are wondering, the Independent Police Review Authority, how independent is it?
Supposedly it is independent. However, according to Davis, all of the top administrators are former law enforcement officers with the DEA, the FBI, Chicago Police. So there is a connection.
A celebration of freedom decades in the making.
We've just been praying and just trusting God that this day will come, and it's here, and we're so grateful to God.
In 1983, Alvin Kennard was charged with taking $50 during a Bessemer robbery. Thanks to prior burglary and larceny convictions, he was sentenced to life without parole under Alabama's old 3 strikes rule. Then today, Judge David Carpenter gave Kennard credit for time served. His niece, Patricia Jones, elated the life sentence was satisfied.
He had to be sentenced, but with it being so severe, we was just hoping that one day God would free him, and he did.
Judge Carpenter said that if Kennard had been given life in prison under the state's current sentencing guidelines, he would have been eligible for parole back in 1999. Instead, he had to wait 20 extra years to receive his freedom. During today's resentencing, Kennard apologized and took responsibility for his crime. He told the judge he wants to become a carpenter.
He said he want to get him a job. He want to support himself, and we're going to support him. And in every way we can.
Jones and the judge were not sure exactly when her uncle will be released from Bessemer's Donaldson prison.
I need somebody to get Deborah Messon on the phone right now and tell her to call me. Matter of fact, send this video to her. Listen here, Deborah. Listen to me when I'm talking to you. And I normally don't talk to women like that, but you have no respect and no class. Okay? Now, I'm about to go off on you for 2 reasons. The first reason is because you promoted a message saying that Black Trump supporters have a mental illness. I am not mentally ill, okay? Just because I can think for myself, that does not make me mentally ill, I have the right to vote for who I want to vote for. I have the right to think for myself. You do not own me. The Democrat Party does not own me. Okay? So get that straight. Don't get it twisted. I'm not dumb and I'm not mentally ill. Okay? I am just fine. Very stable. And I voted for President Donald J. Trump, and I'm doing it again in 2020.